Hello, Galaxy. I'm a very confused Chris Pirillo, and you've tuned into another live edition of the Locker Room Daily Report, or TLDR for short. I seem to be messing up YouTube. It may be going down again. It could be broken, but it's doing things that it should not be doing, and that's okay when I'm not live broadcasting, but when I'm doing a live broadcast as I'm doing now, you never really know what you're going to get. But that's me. You never really know what you're going to get. I am Chris Pirillo. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody should have received a push notification that I was live. The membership is obviously toggled on. You can become a membership, or you can't actually become a membership. You can become a member and join members-only chat, support the TLDR endeavor, and, be a part of the live video experience. It's easy to do. It's right there. You press the join button. And kind of help me talk through this particular topic, which I realize may be difficult for you to understand on the surface if you've never created content, or if you've never done a quote-unquote review. And maybe you have. That's awesome if you have. Then you kind of know what I'm talking about. I have never... Okay, this is the drinking game, right? You got your drink, I got my water. I'm going to get blitzed on H2O here. I was never really into hardware as much as I was software, especially in the beginning. What thrilled me was being able to try different pieces of software, shareware as we used to call it, freeware, back in the day. And I loved it. It was fun. Visiting websites. I mean, it was software running on the web, over the web, through the browser. It was software. It counted. That was really what drove me. And looking at software, in my estimation, is a lot easier than looking at hardware for a lot of different reasons. Because with hardware, you usually have to deal with both hardware and software. With software, you're usually only dealing with software. But it's difficult, or at least it's been difficult for me, not just because I'm not into the things that people want me to be into, but it's difficult for me to review hardware simply because I rarely have enough time. Usually these reviews, and I've talked about this before, but I don't think I've ever really dived too deeply into the topic, and really wanted to give you my perspective on the matter, if only to better understand. It sounded like I said something else, but that's not what I said. To better understand, where it is that I'm coming from, and where a lot of people that might be in my seat, maybe not physical seat, the metaphorical seat, where they're coming from. You have, like, widget X, and then, like, a day later, widget Y, and you have to, use the product, beginning to end, not only understand the entire experience, but to be able to translate it, and then you're moving on to the next thing. So you haven't spent enough time with product X, if you even have enough time. For example, now, if I were to, give you my review on, say, the iPhone XS Max, it's possible. I could do that. Do I have one on order? No. Can I justify the cost? Absolutely not. Would I review one? Sure, I would. But, I can't get past the cost. I don't have one. And even by the time I did, so the fourth point, the reviews have been done. Right? The people have already made up their mind and they've moved on to the next gadget. So if you can't, this is the problem. If you want to be a hardware person to review hardware, you have to be on it before anybody else. Like, you have to be a part of that review cycle. And it's over so fast. Because by the time, if you wait 2 weeks or a month, it's too late. People, they're done. They don't need to see what you have to offer. They've already made their decision and they've moved on to the next thing. It's the reason why I just never got caught up in the hardware game. Why I never chased down that as an option. It just wasn't in it. It was not my thing. Not my carafe of water. Can I call this a carafe? Not my container of water. By the way, I apologize that this video stream is going out later today than what I have been normally doing it. I apologize. I had to get celery for Diana. It was very important. More important than talking to you is making sure that my wife is taken care of. Priorities. I've experienced this before in the past. People will say, hey, what's your take on this product or this product, this product? But if I didn't get that product before it was released, There have already been a million reviews published to the web. Like, I'm buying the cycle. I'm done. I can't compete with that. And moreover, I have to spend enough time with the product. So even if I got the product, even when it was late, I have to spend enough time to give you, like, what I believe would be a comprehensive review. And then even after all that, if there's a value of doing a review, your expectations are going to be radically different from mine. And this happens to me all the time, right? I will read a review, I'll listen to a review, I'll watch a review, and then wonder, well, why didn't they cover the thing I wanted to cover? You know? Because it's their perspective, and they had, like, this much time with it. And they may have, 1,000 gadgets to look at over, any given period of time. But all the more reason why I just I take everything other people say with a grain of salt. And you should take the things that I say with a grain of salt. If I was talking about a million different things, I could understand how you'd feel that I wasn't providing enough depth for any one of those things. And unfortunately, people get caught up in the glitz and the glamour of high production value, and they gloss over the actual meat of something. There's a reason I like talking about these things ad nauseum. People think it's a slag to say, this guy talked for 30 minutes on something, he could have said it in 3. That's not me. Like, I'm not here to just, be your microwave, okay? I want to dive deeper into these things because I think they're worth talking about. It's not my thing to look at, these things and get caught up in a trend that's going to be forgotten in another week. So, there's already 4 strikes against getting a product and reviewing a product after a review cycle has gone through. Apart from, and this is a huge caveat. This was my entire approach to Locker Gnome back in the day. I looked at things and shared things that I wanted to look at and that I liked. I talked about things that I wanted to talk about. I wrote things that I wanted to write about. And it just so happened to intersect with what people wanted to take in at the time. That's changed radically. Like, if I sat here and talked about, interesting websites, yeah, you may pay attention, but unfortunately, the only thing that's going to grab your attention if I put Pixel or iPhone or some dramatic title out there such that it grabs your attention, because there's a million other things for you to pay attention to. So when it comes to actually reviewing something, I usually only review the things that I want to review, that I want to take a look at, that I can find a place in my life for. So that is more often than not exclusionary to the smartphone of the day. Because quite honestly, I'm not joking. Over the past 2 weeks, 14 different smartphones have launched. I could not tell you the difference between one or the other. They have screens and lenses and are probably running Android. So that's all I know. As far as in-depth stuff, it's not going to come from me because I'm not caught up in that cycle. It's not a cycle I've been caught up in, and it's not even a cycle that I wouldn't want to get caught up in. If I were to do it, it'd have to be different. I wouldn't be the one to actually lead the conversation. I'd like to be a part of the conversation, but I was never a gadget guy. So to be able to do something like that, I would want to work with someone who found themselves more of a gadget person. Girl, guy, doesn't matter. I would work with them and talk with them and discuss certain points around any particular product far more in depth than I think usually gets that they usually get passed over, in this race of attention and trying to grab attention long enough. So the products that I look at may not be interesting to you. They're interesting to me. The things I talk about, same way, same thing. And I realize and this is what has always held me back. People think that, all I need to do is just be like somebody else to be successful. A, that's not me. B, that's not you, right? One person has to be one person. They have to stay true to themselves. I'm going to sit here and tell you why I believe it's very difficult to review hardware. And I feel I've provided to this point very solid reasons. It's to the point where I have to kind of scale back on what I have time to pay attention to. I've got other things that are far more important than knowing how many megaflips a widget has. It's not my thing. I never got caught up in that race. And I don't find it fascinating in the slightest. I am interested in gadgets. I am interested in hardware. I am interested in experiences. But not all of them. See, that's the thing. A lot of the reviewers are interested in All of them. And pretty soon, they just start sounding pitchy. Like it's a commercial. And they're talking about the same things, and you get an idea and you get a feel for what a reviewer is going to like and what they're not going to like, and that's fine. But rarely do you have a depth of experience and breadth of coverage coming from a single individual, unless they love that race, unless they love traveling here, there, and everywhere and looking at every possible thing that has a flashing screen. So it's hard for me to keep up with that because it's not in my DNA at all. It's knowing that I'm going to see something differently. And if I review something, it's because I want to use it. If it's around here, it's because I want it. I do not, and you can ask Diana, if it doesn't fit, it's gone. Like if we don't need it, it's gone. I don't believe it or not. And you can look around the room. You know how much Star Wars stuff I have? Because that means something to me. I actually get excited for that stuff. I look forward to it. But if I had to waste space with a gadget that doesn't get used, what's the point? That's like having a wall full of screwdrivers that you never use. It's a tool, right? You got to use it for something. So I always review things that I want to use. And sometimes I will. I will chase down a review unit if I can. If there is a possibility to get a review unit of the new Pixels, I would absolutely take that chance. Absolutely. For sure. It's something because it's something that I would want to use. And I know how it works. I know the value of it. And I want to know how well it works. And I've had enough experience with other products to tell you what doesn't work over and over and over again. Doesn't mean it doesn't work for you. It just means it doesn't work for me. And so if I'm walking into a review knowing full well that it just doesn't it doesn't meet my the product doesn't already meet my expectations, it's not that I can be accused of bias. You can accuse me of being human because you're just as biased. Everybody's biased. You're delusional if you thought otherwise. So slagging someone for being biased, you're human. Bravo, Einstein. You hit the nail on the head there. So even when someone does put a review out there, myself included, you're just subject to the whims of people who are expecting you to echo their sentiments. Like, I'm not interested in that. I'm not here for patting you on the back for all the decisions you made. That's up to you. My sense of self is strong. If yours isn't strong enough, that's not my problem. Don't project yourself onto me, man. Ain't my thing. And reviews just bring out the worst in people, the absolute worst, because then they turn it into a religious battle. I'm like, I'm not interested at all. I don't want to be a part of it that way. Like I said, if I did something like that, it would have to be radically different. And I've thought about it. I have. I'm like, okay, if given a chance and given a choice to do this, how would I do it? I would effectively play the host like I've always done. Sit with a group of people, like 2 or 3 individuals, and talk about new products. New product releases that they are interested in, that they're fascinated by, and facilitate the conversation and get more than one perspective and more than one user and their feedback in any particular review, right? And to be able to put my 2 cents in there and to keep the ball moving forward. I'm a great moderator. I love moderating. You know how many times I've emceed webinars, emceed panels, emceed events? I've produced my own events. I mean, I like doing that in terms of always being, believe it or not, the center of attention. It's not always my thing. Believe that or not. So I would strive to be there and be that kind of put my voice and my spin on it. But I would yield to people who actually care about the things that they're talking about, because I don't care. I care about one aspect of things that they might not. And it's finding a compliment that I think is missing in a lot of the reviews out there. You don't get a compliment. You get a good, bad, and ugly, but usually from just one person's perspective. Then you move on to the next one, and it's one person's perspective. And then you amalgamate, and you bring them all together. But I think that experience can be brought together in a singular vision and be done well. So it would be that. It would be bringing more voices into the fray, coupled with higher production value. I'd still do it live. Absolutely. I love live video. And I love the fact that Corey Moore's become a member. Did you go with the new iPhone, Corey, or have you switched to the Pixel yet? That would have worked a lot better if it not flipped back on me. Hang on. I need a drink. Okay, I lied. This is not water. It's straight up vodka. Now you choose to flip open? There we go. Sorry for all the microphone booms and bangs. Let's see here. Okay, I talked about that. Talked about... Hang on. Wait. Hang on. I was looking for something. I don't know what the heck that was. Just want to make sure I didn't miss something. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. That's what I wanted to talk about. Because I know people want me to do reviews, but if I'm going to do reviews, I got to do them my way. And I think there is a better way to do it. I really do. If given a choice, I'd even reboot the Locker Gnome YouTube channel. Not this one necessarily, because I know you want to hear my perspective. Happy to give it. Happy to find a balance, find a medium. But I'd reboot the other channel to be nothing but almost no personality and side-by-side camera and video comparisons between devices, whether they're cameras or smartphones. I think that would be very, very useful for me, certainly. But the thing is I have no want, need, or desire to chase down review units of every kind because I got no room. I just don't, it's not my thing. They're not all Darth Vader, so answers that question. I got, my smartphone holder right here. That's all I need to know. See, it works so well. Darth Vader, you thought he was just the evil Sith Lord. No, he's actually a smartphone holder. There. So, there's a reason why I haven't done a lot of reviews over the years, and that's really the reason why. It's not because I knew that I was trying to hold back on something that you wanted. It's just it's not usually where I spend my time and attention, unless it's something that I'm going to use and that I need. Why a lot of the topics that I tend to cover over the years don't have anything to do with the latest hardware trends, which kind of puts me at odds with the greater industry, but all the more reason why I've always kind of risen above the idea of getting caught in this constant hardware, this vicious consumer electronic cycle, and look at trends and pull myself out of what could be just a flash in the pan. That's why I've talked about the deeper trends. And find those to be far more illuminating conversations to have rather than, oh, this phone has a notch. I get that, and I understand why it's a talking point. But okay, let's move on. So that's really what I really wanted to say. It was me explaining to you why I find reviews difficult to take in, difficult for me to do, and it's not something that I find all that fun, unless it's something that I want to talk about. Seriously, go back. If you rewind the clock, all the hardware that was ever talked about in the Locker Gnome email newsletter back in the day was the hardware that I bought. Because the research that I did, I wound up getting the thing that I thought was going to work best. And then I said, this is the hardware. This is how I arrived at that conclusion. Unfortunately, that doesn't scale anymore because there's a zillion products released on a regular basis here. Great for people who love the gadgets, but it's all the more reason I'm not the person that I think people think I am or want me to be or need me to be. And I pull back because I don't just want to talk about something and then gloss over it and then move on to the next topic if I feel that there's another angle or aspect to be covered. And gadgetry is usually on the periphery of that. Because I don't go to stores and go to the gadget section. I usually avoid it. I don't. It's not my thing. How many phone cases do you need? One is all I'm looking for. Something clean, something simple. You want to know my feelings? I think you already know my feelings. Maybe, and you know what? Here's the thing. Maybe it'll change. Maybe all of this will change when the consumer electronics industry. Here, I'll throw you a bone. It'll change when they start paying attention to software again. That's when it changes for me. And I had this discussion today, as a matter of fact, with one of the people who's been responsible for helping build the MVP for the CreatorDex platform. We were talking about the MacBook. He's got the new one. He says it's just junk. And he says Apple software is going downhill. And he's a dyed-in-the-wool Apple guy. He's not even sure if he's going to be getting another iPhone. Like, after having an iPhone for years, he's done. Like, it's just, so I'm not the only one. Like, Apple took its eye off the ball, and they're not alone. That's the industry trend. Ignore the software, gloss over the software, crank out new hardware, get people to buy new hardware. Repairs are almost non-existent anymore. There's a whole movement around that. It's easier to throw something away and replace it with something new than it is to get it repaired. That's not how it was when I was growing up, necessarily. If I can repair something, I'll, squeeze out any extra life, I'm going to do it. The smartphone for me is an exception to the rule because this is what I use. That's my primary computing platform. I'm on my phone, not 9 to 5. I mean, all day long. It is my primary computer. I will sit at the desktop or the laptop if I have other things that I need to do. But by and large, it's the software experience that makes everything worthwhile. But I just haven't found anything, not a lot to get excited about in terms of consumer electronics and software experiences, with rare exceptions to the rules. And there are exceptions to the rule. When the experience supersedes everything, it's a win. Like when there's something that works so incredibly well, you can ignore the flaws. That's the experience, because you're never going to get perfection. So it's not that I'm saying all hardware is bad and I don't want to look at any hardware, and all software is bad and I don't want to look at any software. It's that experience that I feel is very often glossed over. And so I if I'm not allowed to cover a particular topic the way that I feel I want to cover it, it's very restrictive. As far as part of the creative process, it's very it's challenging because I don't see things the same way. So yeah, I had to remind everybody, and I know you don't care. Okay, a lot of people don't care because I didn't put iPhone in the title, or I didn't put Pixel in the title, or Samsung in the title. This is the reason why I stopped doing what I did, because I was like, I can't talk about hardware all day long. I can't care enough. So trying to figure out how to get the things that you want from me is a continuous challenge. Because I care about things. I do care about things. I care about a great many things. I do care about you. I do. I say that in every video. I've been saying that for years. That's legit, too. Smart TV software is still terrible. See, there's a trend I didn't get caught... There's one example of a trend I didn't get caught up in. Just didn't. I was like, nah. It's like, this is junk. It's fun. It's interesting, but it's not great. So if something's not great to me, I understand the value of reviewing something not great, but then it's just one product to the next and they start looking the same. I don't have, I only got so much room in this room, right? I mean, where am I going to put it all? Or just a cycle of getting it, sending it back. I mean, it's not fun. It's not fun for me. All technology designed to be disposable. The shift to consumer strategy is a less quality and more of how many times can a vendor sell you the same thing. Sean's right. He's absolutely nailed it. I mean, this is. I spoke to this the other day when I said this is one of the reasons why I think Apple pulls you back into the stores to do tech support. It's an upsell. It's a chance to sell you more things. It's great. It's smart. I'm not slagging them at all. It's the same marketing vitriol for every consumer industry. It's true. We're consumers. Not just customers, consumers. Consumer electronics, right? We're meant to just more. And so much of it, this is to me one of the values of what Google has attempted to do, and they haven't done an amazing job. I mean, I think they've done their best, and they're backtracking where they can. And even Apple to a large degree. You can eke out a lot of value in their products with software updates, when the software updates are made available. It's that if the hardware breaks, it's cost prohibitive to just repair, let's say, the glass, than it is to just get a whole new phone. I've seen so many people with broken glass on their phones because it's just too expensive to upgrade to a new phone. They're just too expensive, so expensive. Some of them are worth the price. I want to see a time where that kind of snaps back, and instead of being so expensive, they actually become usable and affordable. And we're not there right now, that's for sure. Certainly not with the luxury brands. What do I think of Android Auto or Apple CarPlay? Well, there's a good question. I remember using CarPlay for the first time. I was blown away. I was wow. And then I started using Android Auto, and I was like, okay. And then I went back to using Apple CarPlay, and I was like, yeah. So I thought it was amazing at first. Now, if I reviewed Apple CarPlay at the time, and I think I've talked about it before, I'd sit there and say, it's great. It's awesome. Because I didn't have anything like it before, right? I'm like, I had a car with a built-in whatever the hell that I never used because it was junk. All the technology they cram into a console in a car is absolute garbage. Even the ones that you think are worth something. So having the iPhone experience, on the screen, it was nice. It was nice to see. But after using Android Auto for a period of time, I realized that Google's approach to the car software is far more reasonable. It's clean, uncluttered, straightforward, gets you exactly what you need, gets you exactly what you want, and gets out of the way. Apple throws everything at you, man. It's a visual. Apple's CarPlay is a visual overload by comparison. Your eye doesn't know what to concentrate on. It looks like you're looking at the springboard, which I thought was kind of neat at first. And then I realized the actual utility of what Android's doing, what Google's doing. Forget the fact that you can actually use Android Auto without having an Android Auto compatible car. You can use it as a standalone app. The actual usability on Android Auto, I believe, is substantially higher than Apple's CarPlay. After having used both, and it's key when you're driving, you don't want distractions. You just want to see the information, you want to move on, and that's exactly what Google Surfaces, I guess, if you're the person. But yeah, I mean, but that's after how many months of experience, right? But is anybody going to watch that video? Maybe if we come up with a clever trick and name a title and tag it appropriately. But apart from that, it's a great question to talk about in the depth of a TLDR episode. Anya, my MacBook Pro is 4 years old. Haven't upgraded because the new MacBook Pro, mine works just fine. Don't need an upgrade. Why would I buy a new one? I tell you what, I'm nervous. I guess Apple's got a new set of announcements here on the 30th. We'll live stream them, I believe. I'm not, don't get me wrong. I don't think there's anything they're going to announce that I'm going to yeah, shut up and take my money. That hasn't happened in years. Scuttlebutt suggests it'll be a new iPad. I'm already thinking of selling mine. Not because I want a new one either. And a new Mac, maybe. So, yeah, that was what was most concerning. Hearing not a lot of glowing reviews about the new MacBooks from people who are actually using them and diehard Apple users. I mean, the software quality control has gone downhill and the hardware quality control has gone downhill. It looks great. Consumer electronics are more than just what something looks like. Yeah, I'm nervous about a time in the future where, my systems are no longer serviceable. I believe I'll be able to push the desktop here probably another 4 years from the time I've had it, and I've had it for a good 4 years ish. Yeah, 3 or 4 years. This one, and about 3 or 4 years on this one too. Hang on, let me see. About this Mac. Don't they give you the date somewhere? Oh, mid 2014. Yeah, 4 years. It's working just fine. I don't think I'd see, apart from a touch bar that I would never use, and a color that I might like more, and fewer ports. I mean, ain't a whole bunch of win. So I'm hoping I spec'd it to the gills eons ago, and I'm glad I did. Both of them. So if I can carry forward for another 4 years, I will be more than satisfied. Then I'll know it's time to hang it up when I can no longer upgrade the operating system. That's when I know I'm like, all right, it's time. Time to put it out to pasture. Time to upgrade to something new. But until then, software is working just fine. It ain't gonna work any better on a new platform. So what's the point of upgrading? Just depends. Apparently, Touch Bar causes havoc with the software. Would not surprise me at all. Apple's really good at convincing people they need stuff they won't actually use. Once they make the sale, you're just a data point. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But Sean, I can't slag Apple for that. That's their business model. They make money with hardware. They're now a luxury brand. The problem is, I don't think there's an alternative to Mac OS. Now, if you're a Linux user, you believe there is an alternative. If you're a Windows user, you believe there's an alternative. For my needs and my perspectives and my wants and my likes, there's not an alternative. There is an alternative to iOS, though, a very viable alternative, and that is in a Google Pixel. Not Android, a Google Pixel. That's my feelings. Those are my choices. Maybe not yours. Nothing has been reviewed in this video. Please review this video if you can. Give it, 1 star, whatever. Whatever you do not like this video. Don't dislike it either. Don't press either button. Don't subscribe. Don't comment. Just don't do anything. That's my instructions to you. I love you. I appreciate you. And at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. May the Force be with you.